Good evening, everyone. It is Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro, with a special report tonight on the action with the cryptocurrency market. But before we get into the details of where I think the possibilities of where Bitcoin could be headed, let's take a look at the overall top 5 on the market, beginning with Bitcoin at 5,427, with a day of trading that had a nice little peak at 55.69. Looking at the 1 week, we're still in a nice little bit of side banding. So moving right along, let's run back and take a look at Ethereum, currently at 117.89. Nice little dip here on the 24-hour, running down to the daily low at the moment. And again, a full week of side banding and a couple of days after this major dip down to $90 of continuing to hold that same price. Litecoin, which tends to be called the cryptocurrency that leads the pack, is up $34.72. That's not much of an uptick on the 24-hour. We were at $36.05. Looking at the week, continued sign banding. Everything is following the same pattern. Following the pattern of Bitcoin, Big Brother Bitcoin, rather. Bitcoin Cash, we don't care. Last but not least, XRP. Side banding continues, sitting at a current price of 15 cents, and looking at the week after the big dip down to 11 cents, leveling off with this nice price here, which lets me know that something is about to happen. Let's jump on over to the charts on TradingView and look at this overall BTC chart. And then we're going to get into the details of what I believe that the magical fib circles are telling us as far as the next few stopping points. With this overall picture, I want to take note of a few things that I see on this chart. First of all, looking at this massive dip that we have down to the current price of 54.20, where are we going from here? There's two schools of thought for possibilities of what could happen at this point. And I think due to the volatility and because of the side banding that we saw in the last week, one of two things is going to happen. And first of all, let's get a nice little arrow tool here. We're going to either see a very nice spike up that could send us back towards the $9,000 range, or we're going to have a nice strong dive that could send us down deep into the abyss, possibly even toward the range of 1,000. Now let's talk about why. Looking at price history, of course, we had the all-time low of 2019 at 31.50. So if we can just draw a nice line here at 31.50 and notice that this coincides with a previous base level here. We jumped above that here in 2017 before the big run up. We settled back down, touched the line, and then we went parabolic. Now, due to the momentum of where price is going, I don't know if 31.50 is going to hold as a solid base. There is a possibility of the scenario of returning to the next previous base point. Let's get a line here and take this from, let's move this line just a little bit. And it should tell us that this last dip that we saw right down here, which is somewhere in the price range of 1,700, maybe 1,500 to 1,700, could be a settling point. Now below that, if we had a complete failure, we could go below the 1,000 level back before the consolidation ended, before the major run up. But right now, I'm looking at these two critical points of support. So that being said, and I hate that statement, let's turn off drawing and let's jump over to the Bitcoin chart. And let's see if we can make some sense out of some of these crazy circles. On the micro level, let's take note of the action happening around this blue line. And I think this is the 4.618 on a channel that I have drawn out quite some time ago. We're on the 4-hour. We noticed that after the big dive, we came straight down to the bottom of the trading channel. And then notice how we bounced around. We touched on this line. We came above it. We touched it again. We dipped down below. We had that massive dip down to, what is that, 4,400. That was after the big dip. And then we fought our way back to this line, and we're crawling up this line. Here's that side banding movement that we've been seeing going on right now. Notice how the price is magically sticking to this line. Let's jump to the 1 day and see if we can find the origin of that fib circle boundary. And here is a line. We're sticking to this line. There it is. Let's just scrunch this chart down and see which line this might happen to be. We've got to go quite a bit back here so we can see where we are. Wow, this takes us quite a ways back. So here is our line. Let's highlight that. And it appears to be the 3.618 line of this set that takes us from the date range of November 11th in 2018 to the peak when we hit the 13,900 somewhere around, let me see if I can grab this date for you. That peak happened around June the 24th of 2019. So this is our overarching movement that gave us so many critical points. And I like setting these fib circle boundaries between points of major action. So right before we had the big capitulation in 2018 to the peak of what we had in 2019 gives us this big set. And we still have more rings out here in the future. There is what, 2 more rings to go. The 4.618 and the 4.236 are the next ones outside of this big line. In more of the immediate, we have the smaller set that is drawn that comes from the date range that I plucked off between a low point after this bottom, and this is around the date of November the 25th of 2019 to a peak that occurred on January 18th of this year. Now, we had a slight move down, and then we started to move back up again. So honestly, I could make another analysis that could give us some clues of where we are going that's based on this low point up until this high point. But right now, we have enough data to let us know that the current circles that I have indicated here are giving us plenty of clues. We notice that all of the action is happening around these fib circle boundaries that takes us to these points of retracement. Now, let's jump back out into the macro, and then we will look at the parallel trading channel. Here is all of the action occurring since that high point at 13,963. And notice that we have bounced around. Let me get that back into the video here. Here's our high point. We went down, up, down to the middle, back down to the bottom, to the top of the parallel trading channel, and then we had the big deep dive. This is why I think that we have several possibilities. It could be a 50-50, but I'm leaning in the bearish direction, and I will tell you why. So right now, I would not be surprised if we rode this ring up quite a ways, or we had a major pump. Maybe this major pump could occur now that we have the $700 million that is being pumped into the economy of fake money by our wonderful government to try to keep the stock market from having a complete crash and keeping financial institutions liquid. So we could ride up to the top of this channel, but I'm going to be looking for the action at what happens at the top of this channel. This is very possible. We could head back up to the 9,000 range and then start to crawl back down. Now, the reason why I don't give this as much of a chance as breaking this channel, it's because of what is going on with the Black Swan event with the coronavirus that is currently wrecking the U.S. and the world economy. Once we bail off of this, what was that, the 3.618 line, I think we bail out to the downward direction, and we could be looking for the next fib circle boundary here or here, and we could break the bottom of this channel rather quickly. All right, let's clear this and let's jump to a different chart that does not have all of this drawing on it, and then we will be able to see why I believe that the capitulation point could happen down near the 1,000 range. All right, now if I can jump over here and turn drawing off. Let's turn the drawing mode off and see if I can find a nice clean Bitcoin chart. Let's go to, that is the Coinbase chart that I normally use, but we'll jump over here to the BitBay chart and let's scrunch it in and see if we can, let's go back to drawing mode and clear the arrows. And this is enough to tell us right here, we can see what our low points might be, but we're going to zoom out even further. So here we go. Let's zoom out and go to the 1 day. We're on the 1 day chart. And remember, this is not so great of a chart. I used this before. It does have the run up right here, and then here's the run down. And what you're not going to be able to see is the line that I'm going to draw on this chart that connects us back with the previous boundaries, but I'm just going to draw it off of the video screen, and I'll show you where it ends up. It is about right here. And see, this is just underneath that 2000 level. And so what could happen is that if we don't hold the parallel trading channel that's indicated on the other chart, this one shows a channel that includes the high point of 20,000 in 2017 of the 19,000, whatever, close to 20,000. And then we have our capitulation point here. If we break this channel, we're going to head back down and we could go towards the next critical support level, which is here at the red line. So it is a 50-50. It's either way. I don't know. As I said before, I tend to think that due to the black swan event, the world economy hitting the toilet and the rabid printing of the dollar, coupled with the fact that Bitcoin is no longer thought to be an absolute store of value like digital gold. Gold is holding its own, but Bitcoin is not. Now that we see the big dip that's occurred, we notice that the big money holders, the holders of most of the wealth in the world, are not seeing Bitcoin as a safe haven because they're selling it off. So let's go back to the Coinbase chart and look at Bitcoin. I like the way that we can look at the line chart that does not have the candles, because there's more that we can tell on this line chart. Let's look at the all time right here. Okay, this is a lot more clear to see. Let's draw on this chart. Here's our big run up, and then here is the capitulation point, and it looks to me like we have a repeating wave pattern that is happening after this major point of the capitulation. It's just a repeat of what we had in the run-up. This was the frenzy of everyone thinking that Bitcoin was going to become the world storage of value right now, and that feeding frenzy created quite the exciting bubble. And so one thing that I have maintained, that I still maintain to this day, I have never ever seen a cryptocurrency or a stock jump straight out of a bear market and create a new bull market. In other words, what it took for this run up to occur was a long time of accumulation, consolidation, a markup phase, a feeding frenzy, and then a distribution. So this doesn't make sense to me, jumping out of a slide and going to the next leg up. Rather, I tend to believe that we've got to continue and finish this correction until the price settles down and we get a nice, boring time period where there is a consolidation and we have like a settling down where the levels tend to start to creep up again. And after this whole movement is completed, I think we can see another run up. All right, let's clear that and jump back over to the basic chart here on TradingView. It's a lot easier to see on this, and then I can scroll. All right, this chart makes it very clear. And if we want to consider the 4 phases of how most stocks develop and most cryptocurrencies which follow the stock market, just with shorter time periods, where normally we have 13-year cycles, but the cryptocurrency market tends to consolidate down to 4 to 5 years is what I'm noticing. So let's just throw some lines on here. This again is what I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to jump straight out of this into a bull market. And I think finally with the black swan event and the market going to the toilet, the global world economy, I think it's obvious now that we know that this is not going to happen, that we're going to see something like this occur, and then there's going to be a settling down. And so the question is, what is the bottom? But we're going to have to see quite a bit of settling down before we move on. And I think that there is a possibility that this could drag on for another year or two. It might not be just a few months. It might not happen in the year 2021. So here we are in 2020. We could jump all the way out to 2021 before we see a movement that could take us out of here. It could be something like this. And things could get quite boring for us, bored to tears with nothing really happening. Volatility is going to go away before we start to build up to that next level that takes us into the next bull market. Well, at any rate, that is all I wanted to, the point that I wanted to make is that we do have the possibility of both scenarios occurring. And most importantly, we cannot completely predict which it's going to be. Is it going to jump up or is it going to jump down? So that being said, again, I hate that cliche. This kind of makes it clear. I expect to see something like this happen or a return to the top of this trading channel. Let's make that green. Let's give you something to look positive to. Here's a nice big green arrow and then a return to the bottom of the trading channel and a settling down. So we will watch the action and see how long the effects of the coronavirus pandemic have on the stock market, which now we know the stock market, the action on the stock market is influencing the cryptocurrency market. So we'll have to wait and see. But this is a tremendous time, as President Trump would say, a very, very tremendous time for those of us that missed the bandwagon on the last frenzy, where we might get a chance to invest heavily into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, which are the future and the evolution of money for the world over. That's all I've got today. This is Carlton Flowers. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Crypto Pro. Thanks for watching.